welcome everybody to the Institute of Advanced Studies, and for this little day of study of war. What I imagined a long time ago was an intimate gathering of maybe 10 or so people downstairs in a nice, cool room underground, and I was told, this is a popular topic, war. We all care about war. War's a big deal. We're going to have it in this room, and 40 people have signed up, and I'm expecting some are going to come and go. But we, I think, can enjoy the intimate day of study that I envisaged in the first place. And I know that we're all here because we all have a shared interest in war. We know that war is a terrible thing, and we know that we need to understand war. So that's why we're here. War is arguably the biggest threat that we face, as a species, because it doesn't just bring misery and disruption and death, right? It also fatally undermines any hope we have of any kind of collective response to the other kind of existential threats that we face, like climate change or biodiversity loss, or even economic precarity and disparity, and these sorts of things. So war, we all know, is linked to all of these things. Now, one of the big motivating ideas behind the conference, the idea of having a conference like this, is the uncertainty that's associated with war. It's a big theme of the day because arguably you could say there's never been greater uncertainty about the nature of war than there is today. One of the things sharpening the mind, of course, is the war in Ukraine, which is defying a lot of expectations, I would say. But it's not the only war, right? And but it is terrible. And like most wars, I would say nobody really predicted it, right? A lot of people saw warning signs. A lot of people wanted to make better preparations, right? A lot of people took the situation seriously. A lot of people will say that they're not surprised because what happened fit certain patterns, right? And followed on from certain clues that things were going to go wrong. But still, I would say it caught a lot of people by surprise. And in general, we weren't well served by the patterns that we use, that we look at in the past, or our theories that we apply to war. And I'd say that nobody has any idea really what's going to happen, how much destruction this war is going to cause. There's no consensus about how to approach it. I have colleagues for whom it's absolutely crystal clear, obvious that the best thing for the West to do is to supply as much military aid and weapons as possible to the Ukraine for all of our collective security. I have others who think that's the height of madness. It's just a recipe for disaster. And what we have, I think, are educated guesses, right? Guesses that lead to real decisions in the real world. And to me, what's remarkable is just how bad we are at predicting war, how bad we are at preparing for it, and how bad we are at averting it. We just aren't very good at it at all. Right, we're missing a trick somewhere, and we need to have conversations like this one as often as we possibly can. So that's why we're here. Why nature? Why nature of war? Well, when confronted with the uncertainty of war, we as a species have always relied to some extent upon science and technical innovation, or mastering the principles regulating the natural world, right? So that's a big part of the way that we conduct war, but it's also a big part of how we have come to understand war itself to be, its definition, if you like. For some people, war is the effect of the relentless pursuit of power. And when it comes to debates, current debates now about contemporary war and changing situation and so forth, science and technology figure prominently. So the nature in the title is a nod towards the need to question our assumptions about this relationship between war and the natural world or the physical universe. I mean, we know that weapons, advanced weaponry was supposed to transform war, right? Not that long ago, we were told it was going to transform war and it was going to make war unrecognizable. It was going to be distant and clear and clean, precise, and so forth. And yet here we are, right? In a war in which a burst dam is causing much of the damage in a way that, you know, evokes the early years of the Dutch War in the 1670s. You know, there's the use of hypersonic missiles and things like that, which are mind-boggling technologies that are hard to fathom. But what will the effect be in Ukraine? We don't know, right? There are drones everywhere, right, in the skies above Ukraine. And I don't know about you, but I can remember the chilling feeling I had when I first learned about drones, that they were going to be drones and they were going to be used in war. Well, here we are, right? Welcome to the future, and it's a little bit scary, but we don't know what's going to happen. And the war that we're witnessing is actually frighteningly, distressingly familiar in all sorts of ways, right? It's still being fought by people with boots, right, in trenches, people dealing with the drudgery of the suffering and so forth that belongs to the world of war. So, this is really the key, right? The reason for the conference. War presents us with lots of difficult challenges, many practical, immediate challenges, for politicians, for scientists, for engineers, for soldiers, and so forth. Of course it does, but clearly war is not just a technical or a practical issue. The challenges we face go beyond inventing ever more imaginative means and systems to fight it. We also have these fundamental epistemological challenges to face. We have to know what war is in order to confront it and the uncertainty around it. So the nature in the title of the conference is also a reference to debates about the nature of war, or its definition, if you like, versus its character, and more on that in a moment, I believe. And each of the speakers has prepared a complete set of answers and will offer an original, robust, and universal theory of war, I'm sure. Well, no, I mean, that was my dream, but I woke up and I know that can't happen. We're not the first people to think about these things. We're not going to be the last, but it's still worth talking about. And what I'm hoping is that today we'll just animate some of the debates that we have by bringing different perspectives to bear. And that's all I've asked the speakers to do, bring a different perspective to bear. They've all been invited, right? The criteria were very simple. They had to be intelligent people, right, with interesting things to say, and they had to have a unique perspective. And so I'm very pleased to say that we have a mechanical engineer here, we have a medical doctor here, we have, what else do we have? We have a political theorist, analytical philosopher even, I think, on board. We have legal experts, we have a practicing lawyer, here, who's going to speak to us. A practicing lawyer also has an aristocratic background with an extraordinary claim on the history of France and the future, indeed. So stick around for that at the end. And we have others to complement the usual collection of historians. But it's the sheer variety of perspectives that was the priority from the beginning. So the day will lack some coherence. I'm very sure about that. Indeed, even the four individual panels, such as they are, don't have an obvious logic to them necessarily, except that I do know that we will start with a bang with our first two speakers. And throughout the day, we're going to be bouncing here and there. And if out of the chaos comes some order, then grand. But the chaos is, to my mind, objective enough if it gets us all thinking. And here, I was going to start to speak to you in French, but I've chickened out, and I was going to encourage you all to speak in French. This is a French conference. It's in France. It's normal to speak French. I've encouraged this intervenant to parler en français, si c'était possible. You may, feel free to ask questions in French for those who can cope with maybe an exception or two. But I want everyone to feel welcome, and both languages will be used.